The scan that doomed the galaxy. The first scan of Earth lasted exactly 2.7 seconds. That was all the time the Galactic Union needed to decide humanity's future. Long-range sensors pierced the edge of the Sol system, dissecting everything they touched: energy output, material composition, technological patterns. The analysis engine processed the data instantly. The result was disappointing. Metal-based spacecraft, chemical propulsion remnants, inefficient fusion reactors, no visible exotic energy signatures. The classification AI generated its verdict: species designation, human; technological tier, developing; expansion risk, low; conflict threat, negligible. The report was automatically archived. No alert was triggered, no military council was summoned, no defense fleets were mobilized. Because the galaxy had seen this pattern thousands of times before, a young species, barely unified, just smart enough to leave its home system, and always doomed to be absorbed, enslaved, or erased. Earth was placed in the same category as dozens of forgotten worlds, a footnote in galactic history. What the scan did not measure was experience. It did not measure pain tolerance. It did not measure adaptability under extinction pressure. It did not measure what happens when a species survives its own planet. The sensors saw technology. They did not see humans. Far across space, within the crystalline halls of the Galactic Union Council, the scan replayed as a hologram. Earth rotated slowly in mid-air, blue and harmless. The Krell Dominion representative emitted a sound that translated loosely as laughter. "Metal hulls?" he said. "Who still builds ships out of metal?" The Valari hive added its analysis. "No shared neural network, no psychic cohesion. This species is biologically divided." A Threx strategist concluded the session with a single sentence: "They are prey that learned how to build tools." The decision passed unanimously. Earth would be observed, not respected, not feared. No one noticed the anomaly buried deep in the scan logs, a statistical outlier the AI flagged, then ignored. Warning: human biological survivability exceeds environmental norms. The system dismissed it as irrelevant. That mistake would echo across the galaxy for centuries. On Earth, deep beneath the planet's crust, Admiral Elias Rourke read the same report. He did not smile. He did not panic. He simply leaned back in his chair and said, "They think we're weak." An aide waited for orders. Rourke nodded slowly. "Good. That means they'll come to us." And humanity began to prepare.
The Council that laughed. The Galactic Union Council chamber was not built for humility. It floated above a dying blue star, an ancient construct older than most civilizations seated within it. Massive arcs of crystal and dark alloy curved into a ring, each section designed for a different species, some breathing methane, others light, others sound itself. At the center of the chamber, the hologram of Earth rotated slowly. Blue, green, quiet. A world that looked peaceful. That alone made it suspicious. The Krell Dominion representative leaned forward, his massive plated limbs resting against the edge of his podium. His species had conquered 12 systems and exterminated 3 sentient races. He studied the hologram and released a harsh clicking sound. Metal ships, primitive fusion cores, no energy shielding worth mentioning. His translator struggled to soften the contempt in his voice. Why was this even brought before the council? Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The Valari hive pulsed faintly, its collective consciousness analyzing the scan data in real time. This species evolved without a unifying neural structure. Individualistic, emotion-driven, fragmented. Such species self-destruct long before they become threats. A tall, thin figure from the Threx Empire raised a clawed hand. "History confirms this," the Threx strategist said calmly. "Species that prioritize individuality over cohesion fail under sustained conflict." The conclusion was obvious. Humans were inefficient, and inefficiency in the galaxy was fatal. The Council's artificial intelligence, an ancient system known simply as Arbiter, displayed supplemental data: population density, resource consumption, internal conflicts, wars. The screen filled with images of Earth's history: world wars, nuclear detonations, collapsed civilizations. Laughter echoed again. "They destroy themselves," a Krell commander said. "Why should we waste fleets when time will finish the job?" The motion to downgrade Earth's threat status was introduced. It passed in under 12 seconds. No one called for military escalation. No one suggested caution. The Council had made this decision 1,000 times before, and every time they had been right. Except this one. What the Council failed to understand was context. Those wars they laughed at? Humanity had survived every single one. The nuclear fire that should have ended civilization? It had not. Plagues that wiped out millions? Humanity adapted. Collapsed empires? Rebuilt. The Arbiter system flagged another anomaly buried beneath the surface data. Psychological profile note: human persistence exceeds expected thresholds. Subject species displays abnormal refusal to accept extinction. Once again, the system deprioritized the warning. Persistence was not power, or so the galaxy believed. The Krell representative rose from his seat. He said, "I propose limited engagement, an enforcement armada, minimal cost, maximum compliance." The Valari Hive agreed. "A show of force will accelerate assimilation." The Threx strategist nodded. "Send a secondary fleet, not our best. There is no need." The words secondary fleet echoed through the chamber. A fleet designed to crush pirates, to silence rebellions, to end developing civilizations. To the Union, it was mercy. The decision was logged. Orders were transmitted. An enforcement armada began assembling at the edge of known space. The Council moved on to other matters: trade disputes, border skirmishes, internal politics. Earth disappeared from the agenda. Far from the Council chamber, in the darkness between stars, the enforcement fleet formed ranks. Thousands of ships, weapons charged, confidence absolute. They did not know they were sailing toward a species that had never truly known peace. Back on Earth, Admiral Elias Rourke watched the deployment data scroll across his display. A junior officer spoke quietly. "Sir, they're sending a fleet." Rourke nodded. "Of course they are." He turned to the command staff gathered behind him. No panic, no speeches. He activated a secure channel. "Begin Operation Weak Mirror in full." Across Earth and its orbital platforms, orders went out. Shipyards halted new construction. Older vessels were reactivated. Outdated designs were rolled forward. Humanity prepared to show the galaxy exactly what it expected to see: weakness. Rourke looked at the screen one last time. "They laughed," he said softly. "No species ever laughs twice."
Earth's silent preparation. Earth did not panic. That alone would have shocked the Galactic Union if they had been watching closely. There were no public broadcasts, no evacuation orders, no speeches filled with fear or bravado. Humanity had learned, over thousands of years, that panic was a luxury only the doomed could afford. Deep beneath the surface of the planet, the Global Defense Command came fully online for the first time in its existence. Not a single nation's flag hung in the chamber. There were no borders here, only a symbol carved into reinforced steel behind the command dais. A cracked planet, still whole. Admiral Elias Rourke stood at the center of the room as holographic displays surrounded him. Orbital trajectories,
alien fleet movement, probability trees branching into millions of outcomes. None of the officers present asked if war was coming. They asked when. A senior strategist broke the silence. Estimated arrival time of the alien enforcement fleet is 72 hours. Rourke nodded. Plenty of time. An analyst hesitated. With respect, sir, their fleet outguns what we've shown them by a significant margin. Rourke turned to face her. What we've shown them, he repeated. A faint smile crossed his face, not of confidence, but of grim familiarity. Humanity had been here before, not with aliens, but with itself. History lessons flickered across the walls, images no alien archive had ever studied deeply. World War trenches, burning cities, starving populations, shelters buried under rubble. Every officer in the room recognized the truth behind those images. Human civilization was not built during peace. It was forged while trying not to die. Operation Weak Mirror remains unchanged, Rourke said. We show them fragility. We show them hesitation. A younger officer frowned. And if they push through? Rourke's voice lowered. Then they learn why we survived our worst impulses. Across the planet, systems long hidden from civilian awareness activated. Orbital platforms powered up dark, no emissions, no signals. Deep space listening arrays adjusted their focus. Manufacturing hubs buried beneath oceans and mountains began producing components that had never appeared in any public registry. Humanity did not mobilize like the alien empires did. There were no grand armadas assembling in open space. There was only quiet motion. Ships that officially did not exist shifted position beyond the edge of detection. Weapons that violated no known treaty because no one knew they were weapons entered standby mode. Electronic intelligences, restricted, regulated, and tightly bound by human law, were awakened. Each one asked the same question upon activation: what is the threat level? The answer was identical every time: uncertain, potentially existential. The AIs did not panic either. They optimized. Above Earth, the fleet chosen for first contact took formation. Older hulls, visible weld lines, outdated thrusters. To an alien observer, it looked like desperation. To human engineers, it looked like theater. A captain aboard one of the forward ships stared at the stars beyond the viewport. "Sir," his first officer said quietly, "do you think they'll underestimate us?" The captain didn't answer immediately. He remembered stories from Earth's past of empires that believed themselves untouchable. "They always do," he finally said. Elsewhere, on a research station far from Earth, a group of scientists watched the same data feed. One of them spoke with unease. "Our biological projections, they're not prepared for what humans endure." Another nodded. "Pain tolerance, trauma response, adrenal override. The aliens don't understand those concepts." A third scientist whispered something no report would ever record. "We are not the strongest species." A pause. "But we might be the hardest to erase." As the alien enforcement fleet crossed the final boundary into the solar system, Earth's surface remained calm. Cities slept, lights glowed, life continued. The alien commander reviewed the final approach data and issued a confident assessment to his superiors. "The human response is minimal, no significant fleet movement, no defensive escalation." He paused and added, "They appear resigned." On Earth, Admiral Rourke watched the same moment unfold. He folded his hands behind his back. "Good," he said softly. "Let them believe that." Because the most dangerous moment in any conflict was not when humanity fought, it was when humanity waited.
The species that refused to kneel. The Galactic Assembly had convened for over 12,000 cycles. Empires rose, species went extinct, stars collapsed into black holes. Yet never, Not once had the chamber been this silent. The image hovering above the central dais showed a frozen frame from the human warship UNS Valiant. A single human officer stood in the command deck. Blood streaked across his face, one arm clearly broken, yet still standing, still giving orders, still fighting. Admiral Threxka of the Virelian Hive broke the silence. End of the projection. The hologram vanished, but the unease remained. The galaxy's first mistake. Ambassador Kinar of the Luminari adjusted his glowing mantle. We assumed they were weak. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. They are small, soft-bodied, no natural armor, no claws, no plasma glands. A pause. By every evolutionary metric, humans should have been prey. A low rumble echoed through the chamber, agreement mixed with shame. The Korthan war counselor slammed his armored fist onto the floor. Then explain why 3 human ships held back an entire Korthan battle group for 7 minutes. Gasps. 7 minutes was an eternity in space combat. The Battle of Orion's Veil. Recap. The humans had been outnumbered 30-1. Their shields failed in the first 60 seconds. Their engines burned. Their hulls ruptured. And yet, they did not retreat. They rerouted life support from crew quarters to weapons. They manually loaded rail cannons when automation failed. They used their own ships as kinetic weapons. One human cruiser, already dead, accelerated directly into a Korthan carrier. No escape pods launched. No surrender signal. Just impact. The Korthan carrier shattered like glass. A disturbing discovery. High Scholar Vethrix of the Synth Collective spoke next. We have analyzed human neural scans recovered from battlefield debris. The room leaned forward. Humans experience fear more intensely than most species. Murmurs spread. Fear usually led to panic, to collapse. Vethrix continued. But here is the anomaly. A pause. Fear does not stop them. Silence. Fear accelerates them. The display ignited again, showing human brain activity. When cornered, humans release chemical compounds that increase pain tolerance, aggression, focus, and determination. A whisper passed through the hall. They become more dangerous. Captured audio from the UNS Valiant echoed through the chamber. Static. Explosions. A human voice, calm, strained, resolute. Enemy breach on Deck 7. Another voice shouted, "Admiral, shields are gone. We should retreat." A pause. Then the Admiral's voice. "No." Calm. Absolute. "We do not run." Another explosion. "If they want this system, they'll have to fly through us first." The recording ended. Several alien delegates looked away. The human philosophy of war. The Thraxian elder finally spoke, a being who had lived for over 9,000 years. We misunderstand them because we judge strength by biology. The elder's eyes glowed faintly. Humans do not rely on claws or plasma. They rely on will. He leaned forward. A human will fight long after logic says surrender. They will defend territory even when death is guaranteed. They will sacrifice themselves not for survival, but for meaning. A chill swept the hall. A classified file leaks. A junior archivist, trembling, activated a forbidden file. "Esteemed counsel, permission or not, you must see this." The file was stamped, "Galactic Intelligence, Level Omega." The screen filled with intercepted human transmissions. Not military, civilian. Families sending messages to ships already marked lost. "If you get this, we're proud of you. Come home safe. Do what you have to do." There were no pleas for surrender,
No demands to retreat. Only support. Only resolve. The most terrifying truth. Admiral Threxka spoke quietly. Do you know why this terrifies me? No one answered. These were not elite warriors. They were not bred for combat. They were not genetically enhanced. A pause. They were volunteers. The chamber erupted in noise. The final warning. The Thraxian elder rose slowly. Mark my words. If the galaxy continues to test humanity, they will adapt. If we push them to extinction, they will take us with them. He looked around the chamber. And if we make them our enemies, a long pause, we will deserve what follows.
The day humans stopped asking for peace. For nearly a century, humanity had followed the same doctrine: avoid escalation, seek diplomacy, never fire first. That doctrine died in the vacuum above Epsilon Eridani, the last peace signal. The human exploration fleet had entered the system under full diplomatic protocol, transponders active, weapons cold, communication channels open. The message sent was simple: we come in peace, identify yourselves. The reply came 12 seconds later. Not words. A plasma lance tore through the lead human vessel. The ship, UNS Horizon, was erased in a white flash. No warning, no demand, no hesitation. That moment would later be known in human history as the final question, and the galaxy had answered it with violence. Rules were rewritten. Human high command did not rage, they did not threaten. They did something far more dangerous. They adapted. Within hours, a sealed directive was issued across all human space. Directive Zero Black. All hostile non-human forces are to be treated as existential threats. Diplomatic protocols suspended. Survival takes priority over reputation. For the first time, humanity stopped trying to prove it belonged in the galaxy and started preparing to endure it. The strategy no one expected. The alien empires assumed retaliation would be immediate, a counterattack, a show of force, a declaration of war. None came. Instead, silence. Human ships withdrew from contested systems, colonies went dark, trade routes vanished. The galaxy believed humanity was retreating. They were wrong. Humanity was thinking. Project Firewall. Buried beneath the Martian crust, a project long forbidden was reactivated. Project Firewall. A weapons research initiative shelved decades earlier, not because it failed, but because it worked too well. The weapon was not a bomb, not a laser, not a virus. It was an idea, a way to turn space itself into a weapon. The first counterstrike. 3 weeks later, the Korthan Empire lost contact with its outermost fortress system. No distress call, no debris field, no energy spike, just gone. Scouts sent to investigate found something impossible. The star at the system's center was intact, but every jump point was unstable. Any ship attempting to enter was ripped apart at the molecular level. Human engineers had collapsed hyperspace access permanently. The system was sealed, cut off, dead. Galactic panic. The Galactic Assembly reconvened in emergency session. This time, the fear was not curiosity, it was dread. They didn't attack fleets, one delegate whispered. They attacked infrastructure. They didn't win battles, another added. They removed systems from the war entirely. This was not conquest, it was containment. Human speaks. Once. A single transmission was broadcast across all known frequencies. No flourish, no threats, no emotion. Just a human female voice. Steady, cold. We asked for peace. A pause. You answered with fire. Another pause. We will not ask again. The transmission ended. Why this terrified the galaxy? Human weapons had always been brutal, but this was different. This showed restraint.
Humanity could have wiped fleets from existence. Instead, they chose precision. They chose permanence. They chose consequences. A Varillian strategist summarized it best: they are not fighting to win. They are fighting to make sure we never try again. A dark realization. Captured alien analysts finally understood the truth. Humanity had not been holding back because it was weak. It had been holding back because it was afraid of itself. Now, that fear was gone. The final line. Deep in human space, a memorial was carved into stone. One sentence, no author, no signature. We tried to be kind.
The weapon humans swore they'd never used. Every spacefaring civilization has a line, a boundary so terrible that crossing it means losing something essential: honor, morality, or the right to call itself civilized. Humanity had such a line. They crossed it anyway. The Forbidden Accord. Centuries before humanity ever reached the stars, the galaxy had signed the Accord of Absolute Prohibitions. Weapons banned not because they were effective, but because they were final. Among them, stellar extinction devices, reality destabilizing fields, consciousness erasure technology, and one entry marked in black. Category 7. Temporal causality weapons. Weapons that did not destroy ships, they destroyed history. Humanity's secret shame. Long before first contact, human physicists had stumbled upon a terrifying truth. Time could be wounded, not reversed, not controlled, but scarred. Project name: ECHOFALL. Official status: terminated. Data destroyed. Research forbidden. Unofficial status: contained, monitored, never forgotten. Until now. The trigger event. The decision came after the massacre at Helios Reach. A human refugee convoy, unarmed, civilian, marked with medical beacons, was intercepted. No warning was issued, no prisoners taken. 7,000 lives ended in under 2 minutes. The last transmission was a child's voice. "Mom, the stars are shaking." That recording reached Earth, and something in humanity broke. The debate that lasted 9 minutes. Human leaders gathered in silence. No shouting, no arguments, only one question. If we use this, do we deserve to survive? No one answered. The vote passed anyway. The weapon activates. ECHOFALL was not fired at a fleet, not at a planet. It was deployed in empty space between systems. Observers saw nothing at first. Then sensors screamed. A region of space-time began to repeat itself. Moments looping, causality folding, navigation collapsing. Ships entering the zone did not explode. They vanished from ever having arrived, as if the universe itself rejected their presence. The horror spreads. The affected region became known as the Scar. No signals escaped. No probes returned data. No AI could map it. The Scar did not grow. It did not shrink. It simply existed, a permanent reminder. An alien scientist summarized the terror perfectly. They didn't kill us, they edited us out. Humanity's message. For the second and final time, humanity broadcast a galaxy-wide transmission. No pride, no anger, only exhaustion. This is the only warning. We do not want to use this again, but we will. Leave us alone. Then the channel closed forever. The galaxy's response. Wars stopped.
Fleets recalled, expansion halted. For the first time in recorded history, the galaxy reached a single unified conclusion. Humanity was no longer a problem to be solved. It was a boundary. A grave with no name. On Earth, beneath the surface, ECHOFALL was sealed again, surrounded by concrete, sensors, fail-safes. A single plaque was installed. No explanations, no justifications, just a warning to themselves. Never forget what we became here.
The species that learned fear from humans. Fear had always existed in the galaxy. Predators feared extinction. Empires feared rebellion. Scientists feared the unknown. But this was different. This fear had a name: humanity. A shift in galactic education. Across dozens of star systems, something unprecedented happened. Military academies rewrote their textbooks. The section once titled Primitive Species was quietly removed. In its place, Case Study 47H, Humans. Lessons were blunt. Do not provoke. Do not corner. Do not assume weakness. Never mistake restraint for mercy. Alien cadets learned the same phrase on their first day. Humans do not fight to dominate. They fight to end the problem. The psychology no one understood. The Zarathi mind speakers attempted to classify humanity. They failed. Humans contradicted every known behavioral model. Capable of compassion, yet unparalleled brutality. Emotion-driven, yet tactically precise. Individually fragile, collectively unstoppable. A Zarathi report concluded, humans are not violent by nature. They are violent by necessity. And once that necessity is accepted, there is no limit. What alien children were taught. In peaceful systems, alien parents began telling new stories. Not myths, warnings. If you see a human ship, do not fire. If a human speaks softly, listen carefully. If humans stop talking, run. Children asked why. Parents answered with one sentence. Because humans only grow quiet when they've decided something must end. The battle that never happened. At the edge of neutral space, a massive armada assembled. 3 empires, over 8,000 ships. It was meant to be a show of force, a reminder to humanity that the galaxy was still vast. Human sensors detected the fleet within minutes. An expected response. None came. No fleets mobilized, no weapons powered up, no transmissions sent. Instead, a single unmanned human probe drifted toward the armada. It carried no warhead, only a data packet. The data packet. The file contained one thing: a detailed simulation. It showed step by step how the assembled fleet would be neutralized. Not destroyed, neutralized. Jump points collapsed, command ships isolated, supply lines erased. Survivors stranded in dead space. Estimated time to total operational failure: 6 minutes, 14 seconds. The simulation ended with a single line of text. This is not a threat. This is a courtesy. The armada dispersed within the hour. The human paradox. Despite everything, humans did not expand aggressively. They did not conquer. They fortified borders, strengthened defenses, and turned inward to rebuild, to heal, to remember the cost. Alien observers found this unsettling. A species capable of erasing fleets, yet choosing to be left alone. Words from a human historian.
An alien journalist once asked a human historian, "Why didn't you take control when you had the chance?" The human answered quietly, "Because we know where that road ends. We've walked it before. And we didn't like who we were at the end of it." The legend begins. Over time, humanity became something else. Not an enemy, not an ally. A constant, a fixed point in galactic thinking. Maps marked human territory in bold. Trade routes bent around it. Wars were planned with one question first: how will humans react? If the answer was uncertain, the war was canceled.
The day humanity saved the galaxy. The galaxy did not call on humanity lightly. In fact, it waited until there was no one else left to call. An ancient silence broke. At the edge of known space, something stirred. Not a fleet, not an empire, not a species that could be reasoned with. The first sign was the disappearance of stars. Entire systems went dark, not destroyed, not exploded, but emptied. Planets remained, orbits held, but all life was gone. No radiation, no wreckage, no survivors. The phenomenon was given a name: the null tide. Failed defenses. The galaxy responded as it always had, with force. Fleets were sent, weapons were fired, superweapons were unleashed. None worked. Ships entering affected regions lost power. AI shut down. Biological crews fell unconscious within minutes. The null tide did not attack. It advanced, and nothing could slow it. A forbidden discussion. The Galactic Assembly met behind sealed quantum shields. No recordings, no observers, only one agenda item. Do we ask the humans? Silence followed. The memory of the scar still haunted them. To ask humanity for help meant trusting the species that could scar reality itself. But extinction has a way of making pride irrelevant. The vote passed, unanimously. The message they never wanted to send. The transmission was carefully worded, not a demand, not an order, a plea. To the United Nations of Earth, we face an existential threat beyond our capacity. We request assistance on your terms. The transmission traveled across space and was received. 3 days of silence. No response came. The galaxy assumed the worst, that humanity had decided this was not their problem. On the 3rd day, the null tide consumed another inhabited system. Trillions lost. Hope faded. Then a reply arrived. Short, unencrypted, human. We are coming. Humanity mobilized. What followed stunned every observer. Human shipyards, long dormant, ignited with activity. Civilian vessels were retrofitted. Old warships reactivated. Technology thought abandoned returned to service. But most shocking of all, humanity did not deploy fleets. They deployed engineers, scientists, physicists, terraformers, temporal analysts. They weren't preparing for war. They were preparing to understand. The terrifying realization. Within hours of studying null tide data, human analysts reached a conclusion that terrified even them. The null tide was not a weapon, not an invasion. It was a natural phenomenon, a collapse of reality caused by civilizations abusing higher dimensional technologies over millions of years. The galaxy had broken itself. The hardest choice. A human council convened. To stop the null tide, they would have to use ECHOFALL technology again, not as a weapon, but as a stitch to repair space-time. But the risk was enormous. If it failed, human space would be erased along with the tide.
The galaxy held its breath. The sacrifice. Human ships formed a vast geometric pattern around the advancing front. ECHOFALL arrays activated. Observers saw stars bend, time slow, reality tremble. For 6 hours, the universe screamed. Then, silence. The null tide stopped. Forever. The aftermath. Human space was gone, not destroyed, disconnected. Earth, Mars, the colonies, vanished from known spacetime. Humanity had sealed itself away to save everyone else. The galaxy mourned. For the first time in history, the galaxy mourned another species. Monuments were built, wars paused, borders softened. The species they feared most had saved them all.
The message humanity left behind. For 3 standard cycles, the galaxy believed humanity was dead. No signals, no probes returned, no trace of human space in any known dimension. The region where human territory once existed was now called the Quiet Expanse. No ships entered it, not out of fear, out of respect. A galaxy changed by loss. Without humanity, the galaxy felt smaller. Conflicts paused, expansion slowed, aggression softened. The species that once mocked humans now told stories about them, not as conquerors, as guardians. The phrase, "What would the humans do?" became a moral question. The impossible signal. It arrived without warning, a low-dan transmission, ancient by galactic standards, non-encrypted, human in origin, detected simultaneously by thousands of listening stations. The message repeated once, then never again. The message. The voice was human, tired, older but steady. If you are hearing this, then we succeeded. A pause. We sealed the wound you could not see. The universe will hold, for now. Another pause. You will never find us. Gasps echoed across the galaxy. We exist somewhere between moments, between seconds. Do not try to follow. The voice softened. This was our choice. You do not owe us anything. A final pause. But remember this. The final line. Kindness is a strength, restraint is courage, and survival is a responsibility. The transmission ended. The Galactic MU reconvened for the first time since the sacrifice. No flags, no rivalries, no hierarchy. A single resolution passed unanimously. Humanity shall be remembered as a foundational species, a title never given before, not even to the oldest empires. Monuments without statues. Across hundreds of worlds, monuments were built, not of human figures, but of empty space, a reminder of absence, a reminder of cost. On one world, the inscription read, "They were strong enough to destroy us and chose not to." A scientific revelation. Human technology left behind fragments, notes, equations, concepts no one else had considered. One discovery shook the galaxy. Humans had predicted their survival. The message was not a goodbye, it was a placeholder. A warning from the past. Hidden within the transmission's background noise was a secondary signal, decoded centuries later. 3 words. Human. Chilling. Not yet finished. A new galactic rule. From that day forward, a law was etched into galactic doctrine. No species shall be pushed to extinction, for we have seen what the desperate can become, and what the noble will sacrifice.
The children who found humanity. Legends fade. Most of them do, but humanity's never did, because some absences are louder than presence. 2 centuries later.
200 standard cycles after the quiet expanse formed, the galaxy had changed. Empires still existed, trade still flowed, science advanced, but one thing remained untouched: human space. It was marked on every star map with a single symbol: do not enter. Not enforced by weapons, by memory. The children without fear. The children of this era had never known humans, only stories. To them, humanity was myth, a warning, a bedtime tale told by elders who remembered fear. And myths invite curiosity, especially to the young. The Forbidden Expedition. 3 students from the Helior Academy stole a survey craft. Kale, a historian obsessed with lost civilizations. Erix, a mathematician who questioned accepted physics. Saga, a pilot who believed rules were challenges. Their destination? The quiet expanse. They didn't go seeking danger, they went seeking truth. Crossing the line. The moment their ship crossed the expanse boundary, sensors went blind, time stuttered, reality felt thin. The stars ahead flickered like reflections on water. Then, the ship stabilized, and space looked wrong. The impossible sight. There it was, a system, a yellow star, 8 planets, artificial satellites, signals, human signals. Kale whispered, "They're alive." First contact, again. A transmission locked onto their ship, old, human, unmistakable. "Unknown vessel, you are trespassing." The voice paused. "This space is sealed." Sava's hands trembled as she replied, We came to learn." Silence followed. Then you should not be here." The truth revealed. The humans had not vanished. They had stepped aside, folded their existence into a stabilized temporal pocket, watching, maintaining, guarding the scar they had stitched. They had become custodians of reality, bound to never interfere again until necessary. The warning. A human appeared on screen, older, scarred, tired, but human. The galaxy survived because we stayed hidden. If we return openly, old fears will wake, old weapons will follow. He looked directly at them. "You must forget you found us." The hardest promise. The students swore silence. Their ship was escorted to the boundary, memory dampeners activated. But one thing remained. A single human phrase burned into their minds. "We are still here." The legend continues. Centuries later, historians would debate rumors, strange rescues, impossible survivals, unknown ships saving worlds and disappearing. They would never prove it, but deep down, the galaxy knew.
When humanity returned. Humanity did not return because it wanted to. It returned because the universe no longer gave it a choice. The first sign. It began with a sound, not an explosion, not a signal, a resonance. Across thousands of systems, sensors detected the same anomaly, a vibration in space-time itself. Stars trembled, jump routes distorted, ancient safeguards activated without command. The universe was remembering something it had tried to forget. The old fear resurfaces. The Galactic Assembly reconvened in emergency session. For the first time in centuries, one word was spoken aloud again: humanity. No one laughed. No one questioned it.
because the resonance matched archived data from one event only: ECHOFALL. A mistake repeated. A fringe empire, the Rel Dominion, had uncovered forbidden technology, fragments of human research, incomplete equations, misunderstood principles. They believed they could harness it. They were wrong. Their experiment tore open a microscar in space-time, not large enough to erase systems, large enough to bleed. Reality destabilized, causality frayed, entire timelines began to overlap. The null tide's echo had returned. The plea again. The assembly drafted a message they never wanted to send twice. This one was shorter. No formalities, no pride. We broke it. We need you. The transmission was aimed not at space, but at absence, at the quiet expanse. The wait. Seconds passed. Minutes. Hours. Then, space folded. Not violently, carefully, as if someone knew exactly where to touch. Humanity emerges. They did not arrive as fleets. They arrived as anchors. Massive structures unfolded in orbit, impossible geometries stabilizing reality itself. Human ships followed, not armed, not aggressive, purpose-built. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Humanity had returned. The voice of Earth. A human transmission filled every channel. Older than before, calmer. We warned you. No anger, just fact. Some tools cannot be unlearned. Some power must be carried, not shared. A pause. We will fix this. The repair. Human engineers entered the fracture. Where alien ships failed, humans walked through controlled temporal shear. They adjusted constants, collapsed unstable probabilities, re-stitched causality by hand. Observers described it as watching surgeons operate on the universe. Hours later, the resonance stopped. The fracture sealed. Reality held. The galaxy's shame. The Rel Dominion collapsed overnight, not by force, by isolation. No one came to their aid. They had endangered everything. Humanity had saved it. Again. A final decision. The assembly offered humanity leadership, permanent authority, absolute veto power, unlimited reach. The human response was immediate. No. Another pause. We will not rule you. We will guard the boundaries you keep crossing. The new order. Humanity did not reclaim territory. They built watchposts, hidden, silent, omnipresent. A species no longer inside the galaxy, but around it.
The ones who stayed behind. Humanity did not disappear again. That was the cruelest part. They stayed. The eternal watch. From outside normal space-time, humanity watched the galaxy grow. They saw empires rise with hopeful promises and fall to the same old mistakes. They saw peace signed, broken, and signed again. They intervened only when reality itself was threatened, never for politics, never for pride, only for survival. And every intervention cost them something. The price of knowing too much. Humanity had become custodians of the universe's foundations, time, causality, dimensional stability. But the human mind was never meant to see everything, to perceive collapsing timelines, to remember futures that never happened, to know how many ways existence could end. Some humans couldn't bear it. They aged faster, thought slower,
smiled less, not from weakness, but from weight. The silent sacrifice. There were no monuments for these humans, no statues, no songs. When a watcher reached the limit of what a human mind could endure, they chose to step deeper into the structure of reality, to dissolve into the equations holding the universe together, not dying, becoming part of the solution. Each sacrifice strengthened existence itself. The galaxy never knew their names. The last human council. Once every millennium, the remaining humans gathered, fewer each time, older, wiser, tired. They asked the same question they had asked since the beginning. Was it worth it? They answered the same way. Yes, because the galaxy was still alive. A final observation. One day, long after humanity had faded into myth again, a young civilization reached the stars, like humans once had, curious, fragile, hopeful. They stood at the edge of their first jump beyond home, and space held. Reality did not tear, time did not resist. The universe welcomed them, because someone had paid the price long ago. The last human message. Hidden deep in the fabric of space-time, a message waited, not for governments, not for empires, for anyone who ever wondered why the universe was still here. It read, "We were never meant to rule. We were never meant to conquer. We were meant to endure, so others could begin." The truth at last. Humanity was not the strongest species, not the oldest, not the smartest. They were simply the ones who stayed when leaving would have been easier. And somewhere beyond time, beyond fear, a human watched the stars, still standing, still guarding, still human.